Hi, I'm Colleen Pearl, the Cool Crone, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is all about the full moon in Aquarius, again, on August 22nd. The full moon in Aquarius will take place on August 22nd, and if you're on the East Coast, it's at 8:02 a.m. If you're anywhere else in the world, a simple Google search will give you the exact time. The full moon will be at 29 degrees Aquarius, 37 minutes. Now, the full moon in Aquarius in July was at 1 degree of Aquarius, which is a very powerful degree. 29 is also a very powerful degree for Aquarius. This means that the Aquarius traits and characteristics will be full blown at the time of this full moon. And you'll see later why it's going to be given an even bigger boost from one of the planets that is conjunct the moon at the time of the full lunation. So in Aquarius, the moon is masculine, dry, which is air, fixed, and ruled by Uranus. So this is not a warm and fuzzy moon. This is a moon that can be somewhat unemotional. You'll see that with the moon in Aquarius, one can feel more detached, but very intellectual, pragmatic, and ready for change. When the moon is in Aquarius, it is emphasizing the individual or the individual's rights versus the rights of the masses. However, it's also looking forward to the good of the masses. Aquarius is a really interesting sign. It's the visionary. It's the person who will lead people to a better place. They may be lonely themselves. They may not have very many friends, or they may just have one or two really, really good friends and not trust anybody else. Aquarians are a little weird. But you can be sure that they will express their individuality in whatever way they need to. Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, so Aquarians very often are quirky, eccentric, independent. They don't go along with the normal crowd. They just usually go against norms in society. They are rebellious. And though all of those feelings will probably come through in this full moon. Now, in general, the full moon is always a culmination or peak energy time. So anything that was started at the previous full moon or new moon, which is only 2 weeks ago, will be important and will be culminating or coming to peak energy at this time. Now, we just had another full moon in Aquarius at 1 degree. So you could have started things way back 2 full moons ago. This could be energy building up for 2 months. And again, you'll see with the planetary arrangements, there's going to be just a lot of culmination and peaking energy at this time. The full moon is always the opposition of the sun to the moon in the sky. So this is yin energy and yang energy. The lunar energy being the yin, the solar energy being the yang. So as they stand across the sky from each other, we have the solar energy pushing and the lunar energy usually receiving, but also pushing back. Because the energy is so strong, that's where people start to feel a little bit crazy during the full moon. It forces you to deal with unresolved issues at this time, and it will shine a light on things that are in the dark. But a full moon is a great time to try to let go of negative patterns, toxic thoughts, toxic beliefs, any kind of thing that is holding up a relationship of some kind. Because even though this isn't in Libra, it's in Aquarius, it's still an air sign, and it's still very much engaged in society and engaged with people. Now, full moons, as I said last month, are really a great time to release and let go of wasted emotions. And just to review, the wasted emotions are guilt, fear, jealousy, and disappointment. So if you're feeling any of those emotions about anything, try to hone in on it at this time. The full moon is a great time to try to identify why you're having those wasted emotions. So I'm not saying to tamp down your emotions and try not to feel them. I'm not saying ignore them. I'm saying that they are not useful, and so you want to get over them. You want to heal through them, right? But they are educational. An emotion like guilt or fear or jealousy or disappointment is an indicator to you of something that's out of kilter, something that you're spending emotion on that is not going to give you anything back. So guilt, for example, let's take guilt. Say that your parents made you feel guilty about certain habits that you had. Maybe you didn't turn the lights out. Maybe you drank out of the milk carton. Maybe you borrowed their car keys without asking. Feeling guilt about these things when you're an adult doesn't help you at all. So it's time for you to identify why you feel guilty. Really identify it. Is it just one of those really minor, mundane things? Because if it is, forgive yourself. You're an adult now. Forgive yourself. Forgive them. Even if you don't think that they're going to be very understanding or forgiving, forgive them. They're doing the best they can with all of the information they have at hand at this time. So are you. You're doing the best you can. So forgive yourself, because feeling guilty about something that you did 10 years ago doesn't serve anybody. Same with fear, same with jealousy, same with disappointment. You need to forgive yourself for these things, but more importantly, before you just say, oh, I'm letting it all go, I don't feel those emotions anymore, that's not quite what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, listen to your body and to your heart and mind that is exposing you to those emotions. Identify why you are feeling those emotions, and then forgive yourself for whatever caused it. Just forgive yourself. And if somebody else caused it, forgive them. You don't need to carry this around anymore. And the full moon, this full moon, especially this 29-degree Aquarius full moon, is a fantastic time for dealing with this. Why? Because it's not a big weepy full moon. It's not a big emotional full moon. So you can be more analytical and more clear-eyed about what it is that you're feeling. So it's a great time to be doing this kind of work. All right. Now, let's look at some of the other planetary placements for August 22nd. Now, the most important thing to me that jumps out when I look at this chart is Jupiter conjunct the moon. This is very important. This will make this particular full moon in Aquarius feel much different than the full moon in Aquarius that we had last month. Why? Because Jupiter is not Saturn. Jupiter is a benefic, Saturn is a malefic. So here is the Jupiter and moon in opposition to the sun. Now we have some other oppositions. We even have some other aspects. We have a trine and a few other things. And I'm going to talk about the astrological planetary patterns from August 22nd to the new moon September 7th in another video. In this video, we're just focusing really on the new moon on August 22nd, because this sets up what things are going to feel like for the next 2 weeks to 4 weeks to 6 months, depending on you and your chart. So with Jupiter sitting right next to the moon, you're going to feel things in a more large way, shall we say. Jupiter expands things. It blows them up. It makes them bigger. It doesn't blow them up like Uranus, like literally like things get blown up, but it expands them. It makes them bigger. So we've got Jupiter and the moon right here. We've got Mars and Mercury conjunct here, which I believe are in trine to Uranus. We've got Venus in trine here to Saturn, which is really, really nice. And we've got Pallas Athena and Neptune in opposition to that Mars Mercury. So there's going to be a lot of people counting things, analyzing things, looking at patterns for things, and it's going to be difficult for them to see the patterns. It's going to be difficult for them to understand, but they'll be very confident about what they're talking about. Now, I'm going to get into this later when I talk about more of the influences that these planets bring. But for you personally with the full moon, just understand that whatever you're feeling and doing right now is going to be bigger. It's going to be expanded. When Jupiter is conjunct the full moon, it's going to expand everything about the full moon. So the moon rules the tides, right? So we're going to have very high tides during this Jupiter full moon, very high. So tell anybody you know that surfs, because the waves are going to be outrageous probably. It's going to throw in a lot of expansion and luck. Jupiter in Aquarius is all about helping people, mercy, charity, helping the downtrodden, going in and trying to improve the plight of the human condition. That's really what Jupiter in Aquarius is about. And now it's with the moon, which is mothering, motherhood, children, things having to do with the breasts and the breast area of the body, but it's going to be beneficial. It's going to bring luck and expansion to all of this. It's also going to expand your emotional output. And that's why I'm saying this is a good time to do some of this emotional work. You will have a big surge of emotions, but the Aquarius moon is actually a more detached moon, so it won't be as painful, I guess. It's a good time to work on these emotions, guys. It's really, really valuable energy. Even though it's going to feel like there's a lot of emotions, it's okay because it's in Aquarius, and you'll almost be analytical in your view of what's going on with all of the emotions. Same with weather. We're going to have a big bunch of weather happening with this full moon on the 22nd. It's all going to involve water because Pisces and Neptune is there, and the moon is actually going to ingress into Pisces about an hour or two right after it's really full. So the moon is very quickly going to be grabbing Pisces by the hand and say, come on, let's go raise those tides. It's going to be a lot of stuff. So things with the ocean, things with lakes, streams, ponds, rivers, those kinds of water areas are probably going to rise, and weather events will involve water. They will also involve wind because of Aquarius. They will involve fire because of Chiron and other planets in fire signs. There's just going to be a lot of weather stuff. All right, so be sure to catch my video about how to handle the period from August 22nd to September 7th when we have the new moon. It's very important. It's a very delicate period of time. You're going to want to know what's coming up astrologically. And now let's get on to the predictions for all of the signs. All right, so the first air sign up, of course, is Aquarius. Aquarius, here's your second full moon. Congratulations. It's not really like a birthday thing, so I'm not going to say happy birthday, but congratulations, I guess, are in order. So again, you're going to be focusing on yourself, your brand, how you present yourself to the world. You might be getting a new haircut or improving your wardrobe, or changes to how you present yourself to the world. That's really what you're going to be focusing on. But with this full moon, you have Jupiter there, and Jupiter is retrograde, which is only going to delay the results of what you're doing or delay the energy of really pushing it out there to the world, but it is going to allow you to make changes. So Jupiter's going to expand whatever you're trying to do. So if you've put it off and you didn't quite do it in the last full moon in Aquarius, now you can really make hay with the Jupiter conjunction to the moon with this full moon in Aquarius, and things can be bigger and better than ever. Another sweet little trick of this full moon Aquarius is that an hour or so after the moon culminates, it slips away from Aquarius and into Pisces, which would be your second house. Now, it will still maintain the conjunction with Jupiter and the opposition to the sun for about a day and a half or 2 days after the actual time of the full moon. And so you will still be in that glow of this beautiful full moon that's really focusing on you, on your first house. But then the moon goes into Pisces, and so the energy changes. Pisces is your house for incomes, for values, for how you value yourself, for your talents, for skills, things that you can use to make money. So you're going to very quickly shift your focus from first house to second house things once this full moon culminates. I don't know really how much it's going to change what you feel because you are an Aquarius. So probably the emotional side of things is a little unusual for you. It's good for you to experience emotions and allow them to come to the surface with laughing, crying, talking, enjoying other people, whatever it is, however you enjoy them. But when the moon goes into Pisces, the emotional quality about your value is going to come to the surface. So just keep that in mind, Aquarius. Gemini, your full moon is happening between the third and the ninth houses, with the moon being in the ninth house, along with Jupiter, and the sun being in the third house. So this is your bailiwick. You've had two full moons where you can really just nerd out onto all of the great stuff that you love to read and listen to and write and study and talk about. You're just having a great time with all of this energy having to do with learning and new things, also with energy having to do with foreign countries. Now, Jupiter being there is fantastic for foreign countries, foreign cultures, travel, learning about foreign cultures, learning about different types of philosophies and religions, learning about the internet, learning about space, learning about electricity. All of those things are covered by the ninth house. And with Jupiter there, it just expands everything that you can do. So I'm going to say that on the first full moon, Gemini, you probably had some inkling of something new that you were going to be trying to do, having to do with one of those ninth house topics. And now that Jupiter has come along and combined itself with the full moon this time, now it's like, oh my gosh, I can kick it up to the next level. So it's going to be really exciting for you, Gemini. This is a great full moon for you. The sun in your third house, of course, is supporting all of this because it makes you feel like you're the smartest person on earth. And maybe, Gemini, you are. Who knows? Now, Gemini, at the culmination point of this full moon, the moon is only going to stay in Aquarius for a little while because it's already at 29 degrees, 37 minutes. So about an hour to 2 hours after that time, it's going to slip into the sign of Pisces, which is your 10th house. So all of these ideas that you're thinking about and expanding with Jupiter being there have a chance to really begin impacting your 10th house right away without waiting for next month's full moon. So this is very exciting, Gemini. So you've got that moon there in the 10th house. Moon is always great in the 10th house because it means the public loves you and receives you. It means that you feel comfortable there. It means that you're connecting with people having to do with your career. So that's a little bonus that you're getting with this full moon in Aquarius that's almost a full moon in Pisces. Now let's go on to Libra. So Libra, this full moon is happening in your 5th house for love affairs, games of chance, speculation, children, sports, things like that. And you've got Jupiter there. So I just want you to enjoy this second full moon. The sun is going to be hanging out in your 11th house for groups. So that sounds to me like you're going to be having some group activities where you have a lot of fun. Jupiter's going to expand all that. So if you were planning a party for 5, be ready that it's going to be a party for 50. If you were thinking about coaching a sports team for little kids, all of a sudden you're going to be coaching 5 teams. Whatever's going on, if you're planning it and talking about it at this time of this full moon, it's going to expand. It's going to get bigger. And you know what, Libra? You're going to love it because it's in your house of fun. And Jupiter there is never a bad thing. So Libra, after the full moon culminates at 29 degrees, 37 minutes Aquarius, in about an hour or two after that, the moon literally slips into Pisces. So it'll maintain the conjunction with Jupiter and the opposition with the sun, but it means that the energy of that full moon, while yes, it's in the 5th house and you're having fun, it's going to begin to impact your 6th house, which is your job and the people you work with and your health and your pets. So be aware that there's going to be a big shift in energy right after the actual culmination of the full moon, and you should take advantage of that. If you're trying to accomplish something at your job, use that Jupiter moon energy to get it accomplished. If you're trying to hire a new person, that's the aspect that's going to bring that in. If you're trying to switch your position to something else, this is the aspect that's going to help you do that. If you want to get a new pet, this is an excellent time for you to get a new pet. So think about those things, Libra, because this is an interesting full moon with that sign shift that comes right after it culminates. Now let's move on to the water signs. Okay, water signs. This is for Cancer rising. So Cancer, this full moon is one that probably didn't feel too comfortable for you last month, but this month it's going to be a tiny bit more comfortable because it's going to have Jupiter along with the moon. So still the focus is going to be on that second house, eighth house axis, and you're going to be feeling like you need to take steps to expand, I don't know, a retirement fund, or maybe taking on a second mortgage or a loan, or maybe you're waiting for an insurance payout, something like that. But you want to know that things are good with your money. That's what you're really, really worried about. And let's face it, money really represents security to most of us. And Cancer, that's what it represents to you. Your security is what you're so, so, so excited about. So I want you to know that security is going to be okay. You're going to be all right. The money's going to be there. Somehow you're going to be taken care of. It's not going to be as awful as you think it is. And the uncomfortability of this full moon is going to pass, because the moon, just an hour or two after it's full, moves into Pisces. And it's still going to be holding that opposition to the sun. So you're still going to have a bit of that full moon energy for like at least another day and a half. So this will allow you to feel a shift. This will allow you to feel like, oh, okay, there's not quite so much worry there, because the energy feels more comfortable for you because now the moon is in a water sign like you. So having the moon slip into Pisces like that is just going to be a really, really big welcome relief for you. It's still going to be close enough to Jupiter that it has that conjunction. And so all of the things that you were planning and trying to do are still going to happen. Just the energy is going to feel a lot easier for you, Cancer. Let's go on to Scorpio. So Scorpio, this full moon for you is taking place between your 10th and your 4th houses. These are really important houses for you, Scorpio. It's, the 4th house has to do with the beginnings and endings of life, not just real estate. So it has to do with really your foundational way of supporting yourself. Not money, but support in a more familial and emotional way. Your family, your children, whoever you consider your family, your home, the real estate that you live on. And also, if you're looking down the way towards the end of your life and how you want things to be set up, this full moon will give you a really good idea about what you can do, things that you can do to make yourself comfortable all the way up into the end of your life. And I know this is kind of a morbid topic, but Scorpio, you probably love it anyway. Scorpio, you have been so lucky this year with your full moons. Just so many great things are happening for you. The planets are lining up really, really well for you. And this Jupiter with the full moon this month is no exception. It's just really, really good for you. So whether you're expanding your home, building, adding on, bringing more people into your family, maybe you're having one of your children's families move back in with you, but there's going to be some expansion. Something's going to be much bigger for you at the time of this full moon, and you're going to enjoy it. You're going to really love it. Also, about an hour or so after the moon is full, it's going to slide into the sign of Pisces, because at the full moon, it's already at 29 and change of Aquarius. So it's almost in Pisces when it culminates. It still stays conjunct with Jupiter, and it still stays in the opposition position of the sun, but it's in Pisces. And Scorpio, this is going to feel much more comfortable for you. There's not going to be as much of that feeling of friction that you get with the air sign full moons or new moons. So you're going to just feel like you slipped into a pair of comfortable shoes. And so for this full moon, maybe this is a wrap up of planning that you've been doing for the last couple of weeks. It's just going to be really good with that Jupiter there. Okay, let's take a look at Pisces. So Pisces, this full moon is taking place just before your sign, and it's happening in your 12th house. you're still looking at emotional refuge, self-sabotage, dreams, the subconscious, and also maybe thinking about people in your life who are in situations where they don't have a lot of freedom. Maybe somebody is in the hospital. Maybe somebody lives in a cloistered environment of some kind, an ashram, a temple, a monastery, or maybe they have long-term health conditions and they're in a living situation, a therapeutic living situation. You may be thinking about all these things at the time of this full moon. With Jupiter there, you're thinking about more of it. More of this stuff is coming to your mind, and that's why I'm talking about more of it, because I think that's what's going to be on your mind, Pisces. You're thinking about other people a lot. You're a very selfless sign. You do think about others quite a lot. You have a lot of empathy. But know this about this full moon. An hour or so after the moon is actually full, it slips into Pisces. So it slips into your first house. So you will be able to implement some of the things that you're thinking about. If you're thinking about ways of making life a little more pleasant for these people who are kind of locked away, you will be able to do it. It may not happen until after the next new moon. And when you see my video about the period from the full moon to the new moon, you'll understand why. But it's a good full moon for you, Pisces, even though it's in your 12th house. It's really, really a good full moon. You'll be able to use this energy very, very well. The conjunction with Jupiter is a real blessing. It's going to help expand your ideas and what you can do for the people that you love. But also, because Jupiter is retrograde, the plans may not get off the ground right away, but they won't be thwarted. They won't be held back in any way except for timing. Now let's take a look at the fire signs. So for Aries rising, you have the full moon in your 11th house and the sun in the 5th house. So this is great for you, Aries. This is the second time you've had this full moon arrangement, except that this full moon has Jupiter sitting next to it, which is going to make it so much more fun. So this is a fun placement for the full moon for you, Aries, and every year you get this kind of full moon configuration. You get the full moon in your 11th house while the sun is in the 5th house. The sun in Leo in the 5th house for you is joy. It's just pure joy. It's so much fun. And it happens in the summertime every year for you. So this is probably when you take your vacation. But this year you got these two full moons. You've probably already taken the vacation and come back from it, but you're still on a feeling of high, of enjoyment, of just joy in being with your family. The moon in the 11th house is giving you a lot of empathy, a lot of feeling of goodwill towards the groups that you're a part of. You're feeling very philanthropic. You're feeling like you want to give to charity. You're feeling like you want to reach out to others, and you want to be more other oriented than you usually are. Also, Jupiter is there. So this feeling of other, this feeling of giving, of charity, of taking care of others is going to be magnified. It's going to be expanded. It's going to kind of blow up, and it's going to be this big thing. Be careful, Aries. You only have a finite amount of resources to deal with, so don't give away your whole paycheck to charity. However, if you want to get involved yourself in charitable organizations and you're seeing that there's a lot that you can do there, then go for it. That's a wonderful thing, and it will only make you feel better. If you find that you're spreading yourself too thin, then you'll be able to pull back. But the impulse that you're having for giving to others is fantastic. Also, a couple hours after the moon goes full, remember it goes full at 29 degrees of Aquarius. So just an hour or two later, it's going to slip into Pisces, which is going to be a shift in energy for you. You're really going to feel this. Pisces is your 12th house. Pisces is where you do perform self-sacrifice. You do think about your people that are in situations that they are isolated. They're away from society. Or you could also be thinking about your own subconscious and your dreams and the way you feel about your own emotional situation or your spiritual situation. So when the moon slips into Pisces, Aries, you're going to be kind of thrown. You're going to be thinking that, okay, this feels like a little bit like last month, so this is good, but the Jupiter energy is kind of expanding things. And then the Pisces, the slipping into Pisces happens an hour or so later, and that's where you're going to be like, oh, this is a really different thing. So Jupiter in Aquarius at the end of Aquarius and the moon in Pisces there is going to give you a huge surge of empathy. I just keep coming back to that word. You're just going to be thinking of so much about helping others and doing things for others, and what can you do to mitigate any suffering that they're experiencing. So think about that, Aries. Think about what you want to do to help others, and I'm sure it's going to come hitting you right between the eyes on August 22nd. All right, let's go on to our next fire sign, Leo. Okay, Leo. So on this full moon, you have the sun in the first house, which you love, and you have the moon in the seventh house, which is your partner, and you've got Jupiter there. So I'm going to say that this would be a great time for a wedding, for saying second vows, for being on a honeymoon, for buying your loved one a great gift, for just doing something and being very aware of your partner and being very generous with them. It could also mean that your partner is being very generous with you. So really great for the relationships for you right now, Leo. Just really, really a nice feeling with you and your partner. And then a few hours after the moon actually is full, it slips into the sign of Pisces, which is your house for joint resources. So this is why I'm saying a gift of some kind. So you and your partner may be buying gifts for each other, or one may be buying gifts for the other, but you're using your joint resources to buy the gift. I know it's kind of ironic, but it's still loving and fun. You're still going to feel really, really good about it. You're still going to really enjoy this full moon, Leo, and so will your partner. So enjoy the Jupiter vibes are just so good with this full moon, that you're going to have a really good time with it, and just don't overspend too much. Remember, it is your joint resources. So, make sure you can still pay the mortgage at the end of the month. Okay. All right, Leo. Now we're going on to Sagittarius. Sagittarius. So again, this month, we've got the moon and the sun in two of your favorite houses. We've got the moon in the third house and the sun in the ninth house. So you've got your emotions just bursting into full bloom about learning, about childhood education, about daily routine, about how people live in their communities. You've got just a huge bunch of emotion overflowing for this particular topic. And you've got Jupiter there that's just, expanding everything and making it twice as big. So, Sag, this is a moon that you will enjoy, but you may feel like Groundhog's Day. Maybe like, well, I already thought about all this stuff last month. However, last month you had Saturn sitting on the moon, and so you couldn't quite get out from under that Saturn cloud. Now you have Jupiter there, and it's going to feel like things just mushroomed up out of the ground, like things are just kind of exploding, but in a good way, up out of the ground. So many more ideas, lots more ideas that you're able to act on, to capitalize on. The sun is up there in the ninth house, shining its beams on you and giving you really good luck. Jupiter's giving you really good luck. So it's really nice full moon for you, Sag. Now, a few hours, just an hour or 2 hours after the actual full moon is happening at 29 degrees of Aquarius and change, the moon slips into Pisces. And this is really, really nice. This gives a nice twist on this full moon where you're going to feel a lot more grounded all of a sudden. Even though it's Pisces, it's a water sign, it's coming into your fourth house. And that's your house for family, beginning and ending of life, where you live, the real estate you live on, the house, the family, all the members of your family. So you could have changes going on in your family. You could have changes going on to the number of people in your family. Maybe some people are coming to live with you. Just notice that. Notice that there's going to be a shift as soon as the actual full moon happens. There's going to be a shift in focus from Aquarian stuff, which if you're a Sag with using whole sign houses, that would have everything to do with your third house. And if you when the moon and moves into Pisces, it's going to focus things on your fourth house. So there's a little bit of a shift there. It gives a completely different flavor to this full moon in August as to the full moon in July, and I hope you can take advantage of it. Okay, now let's go on to the earth signs. So we have Taurus rising here, and Taurus, this full moon is happening between your fourth and 10th houses. So we have the moon and Jupiter up there in your 10th house in Aquarius. So this is focusing on your career. This is giving you a warm reception from the public in spades. So you've got Jupiter there, and it's really, really expanding all of the good energy that you get from having your full moon in your 10th house. But a few hours after the actual culmination of this full moon, it moves into Pisces, which is your 11th house. So you're going to find a big emphasis on friends, groups, hopes, wishes, even thinking about things like retirement. All of a sudden, at this full moon. Now, you could be 22. You could be like way far away from retirement, but something's going to come up that has to do with your future and how you spend the gains that you made from your career on in a more philanthropic way, or just in a more joyous way, you know, like maybe traveling to see the world, or maybe you're donating to a charitable organization. Something like that is going to shift with this full moon once the moon goes into Pisces. But don't forget that Jupiter is still there. Jupiter is going to expand all the things that you're thinking about with this moon focusing on the 10th house. And so you could be up for a promotion. You could even get a promotion during this full moon. You could be looking at taking on a different position, taking on a new partner or a new assistant or something. Having the sun in the fourth house is not going to change things too much in your actual home life. I think the activity is going to be happening in the 10th to the 11th house, because that's where the moon is, and the moon is the more changeable of the two planets. So Taurus, it's going to be a nice full moon for you. That shift in energy to the moon in Pisces quickly after the actual lunation occurs is going to be an interesting little thing. Let me know in the comments below how you actually felt that. And on to Virgo. Virgo, you've got the sun in the 12th house and the moon sitting across the sky in the 6th house, which is your house. So having the moon, the full moon there twice, 2 months in a row, is pretty interesting for you. Now, last month, you had that Saturn influence that was a little bit difficult to handle, I think. And this month you have Jupiter there. So this month, what's going on with your health or with your job situation and people that you work with is joyful. It's glorious. It's big. It's expanded. So it could be that you're adding even more people to your job. I believe I said last month that you might be adding people to your job, to your workplace, or losing people in your workplace. So this month you're probably adding people to your workplace and to your job, which is good. It means the business is thriving, right? But when the moon slips into Pisces just an hour or so after the culmination, the moon is going to be more in your 7th house. So this could also be showing you where it affects either your partner, or it affects, or maybe your partner has some effect on your job. In astrology, it's always interesting to see the balance of how things work. Is it you? Is it your partner? Is it this? Is it that? Because you've got all of these various elements that you have to consider. I'm going to say that there's going to be some sort of a focus on your partner, and that it is connected to the job that you do. So enjoy this, Virgo. Jupiter doesn't come along with the full moon every month, so this is a really special time, and I hope you benefit from it greatly. Okay, let's look at Capricorn rising. So Capricorn, you've got the axis of the 2nd and 8th houses being emphasized with this full moon again. So you've got this time Jupiter conjunct the full moon in the 2nd house, which means that you're probably going to be increasing your income at least a little bit, probably a lot. even with this moon slipping into Pisces an hour or so after the culmination of the full moon, you still have Jupiter hanging out there in the second house. And Jupiter's retrograde, so it's actually going further back into your second house right now, which is good for your income stream. So I think that the moon is going to have you emotional about your income, emotional about what's going on with how you're making your money. Are you doing what you need to do? Your values, all of those things that are a little bit more the intangible aspect of the second house. And you've got Jupiter there expanding those emotions. So you may have not a hard time with this full moon, but you may find that this full moon leaves you a little emotionally drained by all the thinking that's going on about and feeling that's going on having to do with your income streams. Even when the moon goes into Pisces, it's going to be more emotional, not less. So I don't think you really have any way of getting away from it. In Capricorn, I know you're not one to sit around and cry in your beer about things, but once in a while you do have to let it out. You do have to let it go. And this is the time to do it. All right, that's all the signs. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate doing these videos. I really have fun doing them. Leave me comments down below. Let me know how the reading hit you. You can wait till the 22nd to leave me the comments. That's fine. You don't have to leave them right away. I'm very, very curious to know, is this helping you, these readings, or do you want something else? All right, everybody. Until next time, see you later.